All right, we got Matt McFeely with us. Matt, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Jimmy. Good to be here.
Uh, all right, so Matt is the coolest real estate developer I know by a long stretch. I invested my first money I've ever invested. I invested in one of his projects in Greenville. Super modern. What's your website, real quick, Matt, where they can check all your projects out?
Um, it's down right now, but still, that's
All right.
a longer story that I can tell you. But it's called Union House. It'll be unionhouse.city, and it'll be back up here shortly.
Okay. All right. So it's like I thought it was just like this one cool project you were doing, I was going to invest in, but then I saw all these others that you were a part of. Everything's like, I feel like you're like the combination of me and Charlie. Like I'm like this, just get it done construction guy. And Charlie's like this cool, hip designer. And you're like both of us in one. Uh, so tell us real quick though, like, how did you get started in this?
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Excuse me. I'm from Greenville, South Carolina, where I am right now. Born and raised here, and then moved away. Lived in a bunch of different cities, mostly big cities: San Francisco, New York, and most of that time was in Austin, Texas, up until about 4 years ago. And I've got three little boys. They were all born in Austin. Really started working in real estate after I graduated from an entrepreneurship school, got my MBA for that, and really just kind of dove into real estate development from there. So learned a lot of different pieces of the puzzle by working with other other people who just knew a lot more than I did. So I just kind of piggybacked off of that. Worked to structure, finance, and market a lot of different types of deals, from ground up residential to larger commercial projects, and just kind of got a bit of a I guess just learning the different patterns of what you're forced to do within each of those realms. So I think just the way my brain works is to say, all right, if you're forced to do that and I want to do something different, how can you get around that? How can you either change the business model or think about different sources of funding, different things like that that have kind of led to what I'm working on now here. So moved back to Greenville. um, the original one was really diving into the opportunity zone side of things. It really just as this idea of, what really attracted me was this long term nature rather than just the fix and flip sort of mindset. How do you do something that's good for the neighborhood, but also more interesting just as a place to spend time, whether it be a home or commercial space, and that really kind of attracted me into that. So with that, just have continued to try to iterate off of that and figure out some interesting things to do.
I love that that's my advice that I give people, and I don't feel like anybody else gives this advice. Like everybody wants to just quit their job and go be a developer or builder, but like, why don't you go work for a developer first, and then and then kind
Mm-hmm.
of learn? You learn so much, and you get paid to learn. So it sounds
Yeah.
like that's what you did, which is awesome. Did you, when you moved to Greenville, did you just out of the gate, when you moved back to Greenville, did you just out of the gate start developing for yourself?
Started looking for property probably about a year before we moved back. So
Okay.
it was it wasn't it wasn't immediate. I think it really just I understand the different neighborhoods already, and as I was visiting my family back here, just really like using a bit of the experience with Austin and seeing how that path of growth actually happened with a place that I think was 15 years ahead or more. Greenville was really on a similar trajectory in my mind, and going back from one year to the next, it was always just kind of like, oh my goodness, there's so much going on here, and so like I started looking early, and kind of it was a gradual process of getting into it.
Man, I would love it if you would come to Chattanooga. I'll pay for you to come here because everybody that's here is like, yeah, it's like Greenville, but everybody always says like Greenville's a little bit better than us. Like the development. We have a river here, and they did a great job developing around it, but it's kind of splotchy. But apparently, y'all's downtown is just full on, just developed, and ours is kind of like spotty. Like there's some dark spots that need to be redeveloped and stuff like that. So I definitely, it's on the short list to check out Greenville.
Yeah,
Um,
Greenville did a really good job 20 years ago with a downtown plan. So they,
yeah,
I think it was really smart for doing the things in the order in which they did. And now there's a lot of things that I think they're onto that next phase because downtown is pretty awesome.
right.
But I think yeah, actually building out the infrastructure of the city and the
Yeah.
ecosystem, you know, there's a lot of growth that needs to happen around that so it can continue to grow and have, you know, good jobs. And it, right now, I mean, they were very smart with that, and then they had some really good marketing on top of that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome. All right. See, I want to put you in the hot seat a little bit.
sure.
What, you made a tweet, and you can get into this however much you want, but you made a tweet kind of recently about, uh, you want to get more tattoos, life's too short, and you're never taking on investors again. So I
Yeah.
want to, you can dive into both of those however much you want, but I just wanted to talk to you about that. Like I'm again, Charlie has all these cool tattoos. I have one Marine Corps tattoo, and Charlie's got all these cool tattoos. I'm sure you have like a lot of cool tattoos, but what's in
No,
the tattoo?
I don't actually. I've got one that I got when I was 19
Okay.
that I just recently covered up,
Okay.
and it's kind of on my back shoulders. So I kind of just have the bug of doing a little bit more with
All
that.
right.
So, you know, it was just such a lifetime ago when I got that one, and now it's just, you know, bit the bullet, and I'm interested to do more. So
Yeah. All right. All right. Cool.
yeah, you want me to do the other one too, that with
It
investors?
it just
I'm
however much you
happy
want to
to.
talk
Yeah.
about it. I don't. You're
Yeah.
like, I mean, and I would love to invest in more of your deals and stuff. But yeah, if you could just touch a little bit about that, and then yeah,
Yeah. I mean the true version, I mean I mean it is true. I'd love to not have to raise money ever again. It's not my
yeah,
favorite thing to do. It's you know, I'm open to it. I just it complicates things so much, and I've been through a couple experiences in the last handful of months. There's just one investor in particular just made life so hard.
yeah,
Lots of, yeah, I don't know, just anyone can say whatever they want at different times, and make accusations, and it's one out of dozens, and everybody else is fine, and then they just can really
yeah.
impact your life. So I've
Was this
learned a lot
was
through
this
that, but
investor's name Jimmy Moncrief? Is that what
yeah,
this investor's name?
exactly. It's from that self-directed IRA. Yeah. No, it's just like if things don't go perfectly according to plan, some people can't handle it, and that's not to say I've done anything perfectly. I certainly have not, but the impact to my life and my family based on that was it's in the past now, so amen to that. But yeah, it's just huge impact on that, and I think that tweet was a bit of a response to that situation. So it would be really nice to not have to spend any time raising money if it's just, you know, either a model in which the investors are already just there and they believe in what you're doing and you just rinse and repeat would be
Yeah.
ideal, or have enough on my own to do those things. I think really simplifies things. So yeah, it was dreaming of that reality, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a guy. I really appreciate your candor. That's extremely valuable because I think everybody should do the math behind it and just the thought process of like, because there's a multifamily guy. His name's Scott something. Is SR2 or something in Dallas? Do you know who I'm talking about? S2 or something?
Yeah, I at
Okay.
least know the name. Yeah.
Yeah, Charlie, this guy, I mean, he's like our age, but he's already got like 10,000 or 100,000 multifamily units under management. He's got a construction company. But like, man, he only gets like 5-10% equity in the deal. He's got thousands of employees. I mean, I was listening to this podcast with him and Chris Powers, and I think I look at those guys and I'm like, oh, that's so easy. You just raise institutional money, you all that. But he was talking about like, no, like he had a 1,000 unit apartment under contract. He had put up his company's money for the earnest money. Japan life insurance company backed out the day after the earnest money went hard. He's going to lose like $10 million just in earnest money. I mean, it's like, I don't want any part of that. I don't want any part of that stress, especially for like 5-10% of the equity. Like that's like crazy. So it's like, man, just to have, when I got started in real estate, it was like, man, if I could just have 5 paid off, like that's really all I need to live on, And then you get in the machine and you start and you're like, so no, I really appreciate, I didn't want to like attack you about that. So I was just like, I think it's a good thought process to go over. Like, what are you doing all this for? Charlie, I've been talking too much.
No, I agree. I think, most people, when they think of investment, they want to hands off, low involvement, but all the rewards. And, otherwise everybody would go out and be developers and build their own house. Right. And so I think, from what I've seen, and just what little research I've done on some of your work is it's incredibly intentional. They're very beautiful. I love, I would like to talk a little about your process and inspiration and how you got there at some point, but I think it just shows that you're intentional. You have a specific idea and vision of what you're trying to create and influence, and investors usually don't have that much intentionality into what they're doing. And so I think it's a great, you're putting in all the work and all the sweat. And so I think it's a great line to draw on the sand and a fair one. Like you're obviously building something specific. And so you shouldn't just be bombarded by any investors. They should be on board with your vision as well. I appreciate that. Yeah, it wasn't really a question in there, but just an observation. I will say though, when I was doing a little search over the weekend, is I found a fall Spotify playlist that you put together, and I've listened to it all weekend, dude. It's good.
Hey,
I
nice.
like it. Yeah. Anybody who can kind of flip from you had like Dijon in there, who I don't know if I'm saying that right, but like I love his work. He's got if you haven't heard the song That Dress, it's like one of the sexiest songs I think I've heard in a long time. So it's a good one.
I'll look that up. I don't know.
Yeah. It was a fun. I listened to it this weekend. Great. So you've got a great style of music, great taste in music. Obviously you have a great eye for design. I'd love to kind of hear about some of the projects you're developing now, working on, as well as your inspiration for it.
Yeah. I'll talk about, I think the most applicable is Union House. So maybe I'll give a little context for what the project is and how that came about. And I think the design is baked into that whole process. I think it is not meant to just be something pretty, even though it absolutely is. And I think it can be set apart from those things, but or because of those things. But how it came about was really just out of necessity. I think for this might be different for any particular project. I'll say I think the philosophy of building something that is unique in some way is something I care about a lot, and that can look different in different scenarios. So Union House is an infill lot, an infill development, residential development in downtown Greenville. So it's a mile from the middle of Main Street. So close in, close to where I live. It's an acre. We demoed the existing house, subdivided into 4 lots, and started this in 2017. So I've actually owned that with my partner for a while. Had it under contract twice. One, when the builder just, it was a builder that was going to do that, made the first payment, just disappeared, walked away from the first from the first payment. And we're like, well, that sucks, but at least we got that, and it helped us to say, all right, we can do this again, rinse and repeat, try to find another buyer. We did, and that actually led into we were under contract when, like, 2 months before COVID hit, and once that hit, they went running, and we were kind of left in the same situation. So again, this is one where I was like, man, I can't just do it wasn't meant to be anything like groundbreaking. We're just like, thought the value was there, and I like the model of subdividing, and we put in all the infrastructure, kind of the horizontal side of things, and develop the land. But then after that, I was like, I can't just like try the exact same thing again and then be left in a potentially similar situation. So it was almost like the constraint of saying, how do we make this work at this stage, is what led to, I guess, the creativity of the model. And even like all the way back to maybe my approach of real estate is really anything, problem solving, period. I have maybe a problem in the sense that I don't like to do anything the standard way, and that can cause problems, because sometimes you don't need to reinvent the wheel and do it the hard way all the time, as my wife tells me often. But here we are saying, all right, how do we turn this into a type of housing that we could rent out, and have it at some sort of affordable level without the need for subsidies, and so really it's the business model that we're trying to do. So looking at co-living, looking at all these different ways of renting out space, and then seeing other companies. There's one called Bungalow. Have you ever heard of Bungalow? I think it's bungalow.com, where they're buying up. I think they just raised hundreds of millions of dollars in a fund to go buy existing homes that they then convert into a rent by the room, shared space or shared common space model in single family homes. But I'm thinking, why not just build them from scratch for that? So what we have built here is 6 bedrooms in each 3,000 square foot home that can be rented out by the bedroom for that. And each one of those rents, this suite that they all have their own bathroom. It's this intentionally designed for this specific purpose, where the actual living situation, you only share a wall with one other person. You have, again, your own private space. You enter the house in a place where you can either choose to go to the common space or to your own private space. So the experience that a renter will have is very different from just converting some random house into that. And then with all of that, there's room, there's profit in how much you're renting them out for, because of that, even though they're getting, each individual is a workforce housing type rent. But then you can also have it stand out by designing something really, really beautiful. So I think all of those things just kind of were pieced together in a way that we have what we have now. So, and then final piece of that is that these look like single family homes. They are single family homes built to single family code, and neighbors don't have nearly as much of a problem with that. With something like that they look beautiful, they can be converted and just sell to a buyer at any point. It works well. There's a master bedroom, master bath, all of those things. So really you kind of get less pushback from the neighborhood as well. So those are, that's a really long drawn out way of saying, like, the situation kind of forced us into what can we do here, and then the philosophy of just kind of building something unique is what led us to where we are.
Yeah, awesome. And they are very unique. I'm looking at pictures that you've posted on Twitter, so if any of our listeners want to go see it, they're really beautiful. I would just be interested to walk around and see them when they're done.
Yeah, and they're
What
fully framed now with lots. I mean, it's fun to see the progress right at the current stage. So
what are you gonna ask per room and rent for it?
it'll be, depending on the room, between 800 and about 1100 a month.
Okay, and they're 3 bedroom. Are they 3 bedroom
Six,
house?
six,
Six per. Oh man, love the
six
density.
per house. Yeah.
Let's go.
So
Glad I invested.
so yeah, I
Totally
mean,
missed out.
yeah, it's
That's
I mean,
awesome.
and it's something that, like, I wouldn't live in one right now based on my life stage, with three little kids, but I certainly would have at any other point
Oh,
previously
absolutely.
in my
They're
life,
freaking
so
ball.
yeah, so
You if yeah, if you're just listening to this on the pike, you got to check the website out because they're freaking boss. I mean, they look like they belong in
yeah.
somewhere in like Sweden and downtown Sweden. I mean, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, there's
And
yeah.
I'll give a shout out as well, just on the design. Architecture firm out of Charleston, South Carolina, called Boyd Architects.
Okay.
They do amazing work, and they have been
BOYD.
BOYD, yeah. And
Okay, yeah.
Lucas and Rachel Boyd, they are they deserve a lot of that credit of just
Yeah.
the style, the putting the pieces that I wanted to see together in that particular way. Like, lots of iterations, but they're incredibly talented for that. So
Yeah. How long did that take you? Them designing it, the blueprints.
that's a good question. I mean, this has been such a long, drawn out process, partially for, I mean, it's just dealing with the city and permitting
Right.
and
Right.
a number of things that I don't think, I mean, it wasn't a long process with them specifically.
Okay.
They're fast and efficient.
Okay. You don't hear that much about
But
architects, so that's great.
yeah, they're really good to work with.
Okay.
And design something that is also simple. Like, you look at the actual structures are very simple. It's a simple roof line.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much to it, honestly. And so to do it with that simple of a structure to the, the product that we have out there, like, it was meant to be able to, for us to be able to rinse and repeat. And any builder, any GC would have no trouble building this whatsoever. It's very, very
Yeah.
simple. It's more about the experience of what it kind of enables for that. So I think that plus them being easy to work with is yeah, I agree, it's very rare.
Yeah, I'm looking at, maybe this is just because these are renderings, but are there no gutters? It looks like there's going to be no gutters.
No gutters, yeah.
Yeah,
They don't believe in gutters, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they think gutters are lazy.
Interesting.
Which
Okay.
I had never heard before, but I asked a lot of those same questions. Just, I think they say, just really, like, you can design for the water to flow where you want it to flow, and it comes down to landscaping and a number of things. But yeah, they don't put gutters on anything unless you just absolutely have to.
That's fascinating. There's so many things about house design. We don't have to go down this road today, but like that, I just second guess all of it. I'm like, is this really the best we've got? Like,
Yeah.
a dishwasher takes, I mean, I know that's not construction, but it's like, it still takes 3.5 hours to get your dishes washed, and you got to clean them off before you put them. Is this really the best we could? We have cars that can self-drive us places now, right? Like, so
Man, I
that's
completely
fascinating about
agree.
gutters. It makes
Yeah.
sense. It makes
Yeah.
sense.
One other
Not
one,
to
just
get on this.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I want to hear the one other one. I want to keep
The
you hot.
one other
Go ahead.
one that they so it's it's a Slab Foundation, which is not very common in Greenville. For one, we built our house here, again, about a mile away from here, and it wasn't ever even given as an option with our GC. It's all crawl space, and basically what the what the architect says is, like, the only reason people do that is because that's what is comfortable to them, and also there's a lot of affordable housing, like lower end housing, that is also on slabs, and there's basically almost a stigma because of that. Like cheap houses go on slabs in this way, and that's at least true in Greenville. I'm not sure if it's true everywhere, but they're like it's a lot cheaper, and there's no real reason. It's not like even all that easier to I don't know. I've always heard like if you need to change your plumbing around, or like everything is harder because of that. But like that is very uncommon that you have to do something like that also. So the little things like that where they're kind of just challenging the normal way of doing things in a way that can also be a lot cheaper. So I wish I knew those things when I built my house.
Yeah, we're in the same I'll take this in reverse on the slab thing. I'm from Memphis originally, where all houses are built on slab. Like, and I grew up in a fairly nice house, but it doesn't matter. Like, multi-million-dollar house, affordable house, it's all on slab in Memphis. And Memphis is on an earthquake fault line, and I mean, it just doesn't matter. Like everything's on slab. But Chattanooga, it's exactly right. Like you mentioned Slab Foundation, and some builders just walk away. Like they are like, it's like you might as well cuss about their mom or something. I mean, it's like they are offended by it. It's interesting.
It's like, that's not the way I do things.
That's right. Yeah. You also have to deal with crawl space. They're never done right. And all the builders say they can do it, but they all produce some kind of mold or something. Yeah. So that's a whole, not to get on some rabbit trails, but the other thing with gutters, Matt, this is so bizarre. I have a gutter cleaning business on the side. And you're exactly right. Like it's just a maintenance nightmare that nobody thinks about. I mean, you know what I mean? And all those gutter guards, they all fail at some point. And they're like, if you get the good ones, they're like $10,000. And I mean, which is, I don't know, it's just crazy. In Chattanooga, we're obviously in the mountains. So, I mean, these gutters are up like 40 feet tall. Like you have to run a crane to clean them, but nobody thinks about that when they're building a house. So it's just, that's amazing that you've got an architect that's like, but in Florida, it's actually kind of common to avoid gutters in some areas of Florida because they just extend the roof line. So I don't know. That's awesome.
No, that's interesting. I would love to, again, I'd like to go back in time for when we were building our house, because right now we were going to do the gutter guards, and then we ran out of money and didn't want to spend the $10,000 right there. Like we'll do them eventually, but we haven't. And now the problem is, like, instead of it flowing off the roof evenly, it goes into the gutters and then eventually gets clogged at a certain place, and all the water comes out in just like a couple spots around our house, which again, you can say just go clean those things, but I have a few times and it just happens almost instantly again with how many trees are around. So it just like creates these huge craters all around our house, and like I got to go spend a lot of money in order to avoid that, when I really just wish I didn't have any to begin with. So
right. Yep. No, you're exactly right. That's awesome. Yep. What going back to like raising money and the partnership structure, what are the terms of the current partner, like what you just, are you raising money for another deal right now too, or is it just, or you're
just this one right now? I've got a commercial project called Chapel, which is like a mixed use office and retail project that has been going for a little while as well. And look, lots of stories for that one, just with again, just trying to do things in an interesting way, which sometimes just makes me bang my head against the wall for trying to get financing and telling a story that's not exactly the same as every other deal that the bank has done.
Yeah,
it's a hard thing, but
you need to just throw a Bojangles franchise in there, triple that list, and you'd get that thing you'd have a bit, instead of like you asking money, you'd have a bidding war.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, if you know someone at Bojangles, just
throw in some lifetime bow rounds. Yeah, they'll line up.
Yep. Don't need to give free rent or anything. Just some.
Right.
Yeah, just some gift cards to Bojangles. So
Yeah.
it's really just it's just the Union House right now that I'm raising money for, and did that through the crowdfunding campaign that ended at the end of August, and then have a few other outside investors from that as well, and just a small gap to fill on that one right
Yeah.
now. So
what are the I guess what are the term like do you pay a preferred rate on that partnership and then an investor split? I guess that was kind of the questions I was going to get to. And then what was your experience with the crowdfunding? Like, would you do it again?
yeah.
I was just wanting your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So in terms of the the returns or the kind of projected returns or terms of the investment for Union House, tried to just keep it really simple.
Yeah.
And part of it, I wouldn't say that it's like, hey, do this every time. I think it really needs to be geared towards who you're raising money from and what method you're doing that. So crowdfunding specifically, there's a lot of small checks, and like you got to get I don't know, like that's a very different thing than working with just a few investors that are investing large dollars, that you can do a more complicated waterfall structure and all those things that that can happen just in those conversations where you don't really even end up speaking to a lot of the individual investors through crowdfunding. So simpler the better with it. And so with that one, it's just a basically a 10% preferred return in this scenario, and then an 80-20 split to investors from
Okay.
that point forward. So I am one of those investors. So I get to I kind of put myself in for the money that I've put in to the project. I'm treated the same as any other investor, and then only after that that 10% preferred return would I see any of the carry on that. So
Yeah.
I've done it a lot more complicated in some other things, but I think just lending to the process and who and all of those things I think really matters.
Now, I love the simplicity of that, Charlie. I don't know if you've gone down this rabbit hole. It gets so complicated so fast with these waterfall models. If you hit this return, then it's split. And it's just like it's so complicated and stuff. So I was just
Yeah.
wondering.
Yeah.
So would you do crowdfunding again? Yes or no?
I hope not to.
Okay. All right. All
Hope
right.
not to.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have even done it this time. This is my second one. I did one for Chapel as well. And the reason I like it is not because it is the best way to raise money. It is certainly not. It is a slog. It's just really hard. I would say
Yeah.
unless you already have a really big following, an audience that trusts you, then it's probably maybe the easiest.
Yeah.
But that's not the case for me. And the reason I do it is to it really matters to me that more people have access to owning things. Whether that's real estate or businesses or like the on ramp to that. I think is one of the biggest problems and just the wealth gap and all of those things. There
Yeah.
aren't many on ramps to actually doing that, especially for just different populations of people that look different than me. So I think that is at least a small step towards making it more accessible to, hey, you want to invest $500, $100, that's not necessarily a great deal for me to have to do that so many times over and over again, but it opens up that door, and then on top of that, it can serve as marketing. So almost viewing it as a marketing campaign for outside investment once it ends, and that has happened on both times I've done it. So it has an effect of making other things easier and better, even though the actual process is pretty terrible.
That's yeah, that's huge, man. I really appreciate your insight into that. I will say, and I had some, I'm like, you probably figured this out, not the best IT person in the world. I can figure out a way to screw anything up. But it was pretty, once I got a hold of it, I was really impressed with how streamlined everything was through everything was I really just appreciated the simplicity of everything you did on the back, the stuff that the public people can't see unless you're investing with you. It's like, I just appreciated all the simplicity because some of the stuff gets so complicated.
No, I'm glad to hear that. And that's a platform that I use called Vicinity, and they're local to Greenville. I think they might have done some. No, it's not Chattanooga. I think it's Birmingham. They've done a few things in the Southeast as well, and they're expanding. But they're a good. I mean, their whole goal is to help neighbors invest in the things around them, both businesses and real estate, and kind of democratizing that sort of access to what gets built and who can participate. So
we went last episode, it's not published yet, but we went over, I keep a list of business ideas, and it's just been sitting on my to-do list for years. So Charlie went through them all in this podcast, but one of them was are you familiar with AngelList, Matt?
I am.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't understand why they don't offer real estate. It just seems like there's this huge opportunity for what these guys they're doing it. I mean, I just don't understand why they're not like $1 billion company already, because there's such a need. And Kickstarter or AngelList, nobody does real estate. I don't understand it at all. And then I know that there's Fundrise and stuff, but man, when you get to it, on our level, where they just Fundrise literally just deals with publicly traded builders. They're not, and you get the worst deals that they offer. So I don't know. I don't understand it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've taken some deep dives into the space a little bit. You look at AngelList, and I've actually spoken with them, thinking about different structures, ways to raise money, to do things. They provide a lot of the back end and for how to manage a fund, your own angel fund or syndicate. But they're so focused on just startups that all of their legal structure is really just geared towards doing that specifically, and real estate just doesn't work for that. They haven't built it out. I think there's enough. They've decided not to do that. I would say, I mean, they could, and they would do a great job, I'm sure, but that's kind of where their competency lies. The closest to what I think you're describing is probably Republic. You familiar with them, Republic?
I'm not.
It's a crowdfunding site. Probably my guess is it's the biggest one, and they do offer real estate.
Okay.
There's not many of them. There's not many deals on there, but the ones that are there are you can at least get a sense that, I mean, they're all, I think, fully funded that I've ever seen, but there's probably 5 to 10 on there, and so I don't know why they don't grow it bigger. Honestly, I think it could be really, really good. So otherwise, it's just kind of doing this on a more local level and trying to figure it out, honestly. And I'm lucky that Vicinity is here, because I know those guys. I trust them. They have helped a lot through that whole process, because it's the regulatory stuff is pretty onerous as well, from filling out your Form C on the front end, and all these every year you have to do stuff like this. So so you need help. You need help to do it unless you want to just struggle through the process completely.
Yeah, I liked. I thought their fee was a little stout but I like that it's contingent. You know what I mean? So I love that too. That it's not just paying some 6-figure legal bill and they don't care if you succeed or fail. So
right. Yeah, they earned it in some ways that you don't see though too. From paying for marketing, doing from video shoots to AdWords to a bunch of other things, and legal work along the way. So I agree. I think it will go down over time with that, but but there is a good bit that they do along the way. So
Definitely. We're getting a little long here. I didn't know, Charlie, you need to, you got any other questions?
No, this is great. Thank you so much, Matt, for sharing. I think you mentioned people still can invest, or you've got the chapel and then you've got Union City, right? Are both, or can people still invest in either one of those, or what does that look like if someone's listening and is interested?
yeah, they can invest in either chapel or Union House, and but not through crowdfunding. So it's just a Reg D offering now, so you'd have to be accredited to do so. But we do have room in each of those. I'm focused on Union House right now, just in the next couple months, trying to get another few $100,000 in, just to close that out, and so I'm actively working on that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great, man. I'm excited about this. I think, yeah, I just kind of hearing the conversation and thinking about where this is going. Like our last conversation, I think it's been about a week or two ago that Jimmy and I had similar around the Angels List. Like, I think this is where it's going. Like, people want to invest locally. Like, it's way more interesting to invest in my city here, which I benefit from, than for me to throw it in, 12 different stocks that I don't care about the company. I just hope that, 30 years from now, they make me rich. Like I think more people are more interested in putting a little money here, a little money there. And I really hope, I don't know, it's a tough problem to solve, but I hope somebody does, and to make it more accessible and more streamlined and simpler for everyone. Cause you're right. It's like it's very different, trying to crowdsource and gather 1,000 people giving 500 versus one person giving 500,000, right? So it's a lot more to manage, a lot more customer service now involved, and so I think it's cool what you're doing. I love that you're in a space that, in my opinion, is very safe, as being real estate and development, but you're doing it in a way that's unique and interesting, and I think will increase quality of life for people as well.
I appreciate that. I'll mention one other thing, just on that note, that even more than investors coming in, like, I would love to do more Union Houses across the country. So in different places, if there are people that have infill lots, bonus points for it being just walkable or access to public transit. These homes are designed to fit on most of those. Like it can fit a pretty narrow lot, and I want to partner with other kind of small scale developers to say, here's almost like a business in a box, a development in a box, and again, you can eliminate a lot of the process, a lot of the cost as well, and that's how I'd like to scale this idea to do more of them. So any ideas on that, welcome from
Yeah.
Hey, that's me and Charlie.
Yeah.
Look no further. That's us.
Let's do it.
We're in. I've got let's
I was just thinking, like, as you were talking about it, I'm like trying to think through our city, like different areas, and like where can we do this at? Like, this would be Chattanooga would love it. Like the style, the approach, like everything about it, the city would eat up. But
well, and Matt, you would love it because we've got a zoning here called RTZ. Are you familiar with that at all?
I'm not.
It's like whatever you want to do, zoning. I mean, it's for this. I mean, it's density. The city knows they need density. They just passed an 80. We could have beers and you would win if we complained about permitting process, about horror stories. I know you would win. So like, I'm not getting competitive here, but I've had my challenges, but on a legal level, I mean, Chattanooga just passed this ADU law. So they know we need density and stuff. And on a top down level, it's very favorable for developers.
Well, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are ahead on that front, so I think that would be a good thing for Chattanooga for sure.
Well, hey, I want to end on this, something like really fun. Like, me and Charlie sound similar to you. Like, we're family guys first. We haven't been to Greenville. Sell us on Greenville. Like, I want to plan a family trip to Greenville. What do I need to hit up? What do I need to do? Where do I need to stay? Where do I need to eat? Well, everything.
Yeah, and the specific places that like
Yeah.
trip planning stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll give you a couple highlights.
Okay.
I mean, stay as close to the middle of downtown as you can. There's the like right at the river. There's I mean, probably the cheapest, but actually really good. It's probably the best Hampton Inn in the country, if I had to guess. Like it's just prime location.
All right.
There's a new AC hotel, which would be really good spot to stay as well, right downtown. Go to a well, I think. I'm wondering, is the baseball season still going? It might be at the very end right now. We have a minor league baseball stadium called the Greenville Drive, which is right like a walking distance from those hotels. That it's the single A team for the Red Sox, and we have like a replica basically of the Green Giant in left field, and
Nice.
it's an amazing minor league park, and
Cool.
just really
Okay.
really fun. So I do that. We've got, and then I'll give you one or two. I mean, you got to go on the Swamp Rabbit Trail, which is like the hike and bike trail that goes all through the city, and almost like a big economy has popped up all around it. Similar to like the Beltline in Atlanta, or a number of these places that have just done that well. I think Greenville's done that extremely well so far, and it's expanding pretty drastically. So Swamp Rabbit Cafe is right on that. I'd go there, and then let's see. There's one new right by my house. There's a new barbecue spot. It's a Charleston restaurant called Lewis Barbecue that is excellent. So lots of other stuff in.
Brisket or pork?
Yeah, this is brisket, more like Texas style
Okay.
barbecue.
You
Which
spent time in Austin, so I trust you.
I did.
I'm
Yeah,
from Memphis. I'm pretty picky on that. I'm not picky
yeah,
about
yeah. I mean,
anything
there's
but
some other
barbecue.
good there's some other good kind of Carolina barbecue places, more traditional here, but I would go to I'd go to Lewis just to try it out.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Well, if I come down there, which I will be, but what time of year before I let you go is best?
It's probably the same as Chattanooga.
Chattanooga.
Come in
Yeah.
fall. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, come. There's a big festival called Fall for Greenville in October. That
Okay.
would be an interesting time. I mean, it'd be more expensive, so I'd actually probably avoid that. But
Okay.
it is like it's prime time here in the fall.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna do it. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
if I come down there, we're gonna meet up and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Come.
get you here. So
Let's do it. Let's do it. Looking
Charlie's
forward
house
to
is you can stay with Charlie. He's got
Yeah.
a cooler house than me. I've got more room, but you'll like his house better, I promise. It's more up your alley. So all right. Hey, thank you so much for your time, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks.
See ya.